Okay, so I'm going to show you guys my juicer today. This is a Panasonic MJ-L500, and this is like the main juicing part. So what you do is I just get a little bit of water on this, and it slides right back in. That's kind of a trick if you have this one. You can hear the dog and Maya playing in the background. Roscoe! Okay, that's enough, bud. It's super easy to put together. So you've got the arrow here and the arrow here, and you just line it up and see it snaps right in like that. This piece here, the main filter, goes in this bit here, and you just snap it in, and then you see again we have another arrow. This is like foolproof, and an arrow here, and you just line the two up and they snap right into place. So, and then you've got your auger bit here, the masticating thingy, and that just goes right in. And again, this snaps in to place. And then you take your top, and again, arrow to arrow. So you put the arrow on here, and then you just slide it until it clicks. I'm doing this one-handed. There you go. That's it. Setting up the juicer. So this bit is to keep the juice from coming out when you don't want it to. I've got my actual juice catching cup thingy here, and I've got another one here for pulp. I actually put a bag in this when I juice, so you'll see me in Germany they compost everything. Like there's a huge recycling plan in Germany, so we separate out every single little thing in our garbage. It's not just trash and recycling, and one of those things includes compost. So any like kitchen scrap type stuff, paper towels, all go in the same bag. So I'm going to put one of those compost type bags in here. They're biodegradable bags, and in fact the second they get wet they start decomposing. So they start degrading down and breaking down. They're super thin. In fact, here this is what it is. It's like a super thin, but it's water soluble basically. So they instantly start composting. So I put that in here, and then I just take it straight out to our compost bin for collection. So that's it. That's the, and it's not, you can see it comes up when it's together. I can't put it underneath my countertop because I have these cabinets up here. But I mean, you can kind of see it's not huge. Oops, so we can go the other way. There we go. It's not huge. It's a small one. It's a little stand up bit. So, and I really love this. This is like, I just love this juicer. And I know that you can get other masticating juicers that are more fancy, like the twin gear ones. They're way more expensive than this one. This one is not that pricey. You can find it on Amazon, and I'll show you how it works here in just a little bit. Okay.
Mom, what are you going to do?
Alright, so here we go. So I'm going to show you how this works. It's super simple. You just take, for carrot, apple, ginger, you're just gonna, I always cut this off. Now, you don't have to cut this little piece off, but I do because I don't really want it going through my juicer. So the first thing I do is go through, and if they're not like, if they're not furry, then I don't bother. So I kind of just go through, cut any of the bits off that I don't really want going through my juicer. And then, because these are bio, I am not giving them as much of a scrub or soak than I would if they were not bio. I'm sorry, I'm saying bio because I've been living in Germany for so long. Bio is basically the same thing as organic, so just FYI. If you ever hear me say bio, that means organic. So I'm not gonna scrub these or soak them like I normally would if they were any other way. If they were different, if they were not organic, then I would soak them in like a vinegar and lemon type concoction. Maya is actually behind the camera trying to cut a plastic orange. So these ones I just give a really super quick rinse because I don't care that much, to be honest. Now, if you're gonna do this for yourself, I highly recommend you take some white vinegar, some like a half a lemon or juice of 1 lemon and some water. Fill up your sink, throw your produce in it, and let it soak for a while. Right, so when I have like skinnier parts like this, I just break them off. That'll go in my juicer just fine. Like my juicer does not care. But when it comes to bigger bits, this doesn't really fit in my juicer, and instead of cutting them like this, because carrots tend to roll when you cut them. I don't know if you can even see what I'm doing here. Carrots tend to roll. Move these down off here. So, you know, they're rolly, right? So instead, that was Maya's biscuit that she's eating. And you'll probably hear her crunching away. So instead of cutting it lengthwise just to make them thinner, the safer way, because it doesn't matter if it's in there or not, I mean, like what it looks like, it's all going in the juicer, right? Is I just cut them like this. That would be Maya's plate orange. So you can kind of see this is how I cut them.
Yeah.
And we're just going to speed this up. So, yeah, carrot apple ginger juice. Real quick, this is 10 carrots. It's 2 green apples, and I put a decent sized thumb of ginger in here. I like mine a little heavier on carrot, but if you want it, I find that this is actually quite sweet. The carrots are sweet in and of themselves, but I find that you can also use different apples to make it sweeter, and you can use more apples if you want it even more sweet. 10 carrots, and you saw how big they were. 2 green apples, gotta get my juice in. 2 green apples and a thumb of ginger makes about 32 ounces of juice. So that is a decent amount of juice. If you want less, obviously, or more, you can, you know, cut the recipe down to your liking. But I really love this juice. It's one of my favorites. So I rinse off my apples, take the stems off, and because I'm juicing, obviously, I want to use every little bit of this apple I can. So this is how I cut it. I do it in half, and then I just cut these 2 little sides off, and then I cut the other bits around the core where the seeds are, because you don't want to juice the seeds, or at least I don't. Some people do. I guess personal preference is what we'll just put that down to. And it's my preference to not juice seeds. So I find this is the fastest way to cut them. I just toss the little center core bit away, and I use as much of the apple as I possibly can. As you saw, the opening to my juicer is not horribly wide. So of course, I still need to slice the halves a little bit more. I try to put them in like 4 or 5 pieces, and they fit just fine. And everything that I need for my juice is now in my bowl, to include the ginger, if you didn't catch that I had cut that. So now it's time to juice all of this lovely, lovely produce. As I figure out how to position my camera. Sometimes, some days it's easier than others. Anyways, so at this point, all you have to do is put your bag, if you haven't yet, into your receptacle bin for the pulp. And like I had explained earlier, you know, in Germany, we compost our biodegradable stuff. So this just makes cleanup so much easier. Now, if you don't compost, you can just put, you know, any bag you want in there, and it works out fine. I like my juice strained, especially if I'm doing a cleanse. If you are doing a cleanse for anything other than to give your digestion a break, you don't have to strain your juice. If you like the pulp in your juice, you don't have to strain your juice. It is personal preference. So I just prefer it a little smoother, and I find that with this particular juicer, I do get a lot of pulp from the carrots specifically, not so much the apples. That comes out pretty smooth all in and of itself. But I do end up with a lot of carrot pulp. So, and you'll kind of see that when I throw it in there. So I put it on top of my blender container, and that's what I use to put the juice into, because because I'm making 32 ounces, the actual juice collector container is smaller than that. So I just dump it out like halfway through, or however long, and then strain it while I continue to juice. So it can go as an apple. You can see kind of the top thing here, and it comes out the bottom, and the pulp goes out that end. Sometimes I have to stuff the pulp in. Sometimes the pulp goes everywhere. It doesn't really matter, but it does work out really well. The pulp comes out very dry, which is awesome. And you can do things with the pulp other than just compost it. You can make crackers and all kinds of recipes and all kinds of things, dog biscuits even. So there's tons of uses for the pulp out of a juicer if you're feeling that it's being wasted otherwise. But you can look all those up online. There are some pretty interesting recipes out there for juice pulp. So yeah, I just continue to shove everything in there. Now, because I am batching this into, like I said, the 32 ounces and straining it, not all the flavors are going to be in one particular batch, which is why I don't tend to just put this in one bowl or a jar right away, because otherwise I'd miss out on like ginger or whatever. The ratio wouldn't be right. So I just pour it into my strainer, and I use a spoon to kind of push the juice out of the pulp. I find that if you just kind of stir it around a little bit, as you can see I do here, and then I sort of just push the pulp along the sides here, holding the strainer so it doesn't pop out of my blender. And then I just take the extra pulp out of the strainer to make it easier when I pour the next batch in. Um, you don't want your juicer running just blindly without having something in there to juice. So that's why I always stop it when I'm doing the straining bit. And then you just start right back up. Pretty easy. One of the features I love about this juicer is that it has a reverse option. So if things get stuck, like right here it did, you can reverse it, and then it gets things unstuck. And that really has only happened to me. This is actually one of the few times it happened to me. I think it's only happened to me twice since I've had this juicer. You overfill it a little bit or whatever, and it has a safety feature on it where it just automatically stops and you can reverse it and then it fixes itself. And I really love that feature. So I put my juices in a mason jar. It's just personal preference again. You can store them in whatever, but if you're going to store a juice overnight, I highly recommend using something that you can make sure doesn't have oxygen with your juice. So like I like mason jars because you can fill it all the way up to the very, very tippy top, put the lid on, and then there's no oxygen in your container. That will help keep your juice fresher longer. So that's one of the reasons I like mason jars. And when you're done, you're going to definitely want to stir it up and give it a taste to make sure that it is the way you like it. So whenever you're juicing, this is one of the beauties of juicing, is that you can definitely taste test along the way and see if you need to add more or less of whatever ingredients you may like. So even though this is a tried and true recipe for me, I still taste it and it is good. So there you go. Um, I will say that by far this is my favorite juice, especially in the morning. I also love green juices and all that. As you saw earlier, I was drinking one as I was making this. And here you go. You fill it up to the very tippy top. And I'm going to try to show you how full I actually get this. I really do fill it all the way up. Like I have the foam go up and over sometimes the sides. I just clean up the mess afterwards. But I always end up with just a tiny bit left over and I just drink that. It's kind of a bonus for making juice, I think. But cleanup on this is super easy. I got some carrot on the lid already there. And I love it. This is by far, like I said, my favorite recipe, and I really hope you enjoy it. If you try it, definitely comment below and let me know. Um, and if you have any run over, it's really easy to, just rinse it off. Anyways, enjoy. I hope you love this, and let me know what your favorite juice recipes are in the comments. We'll talk to you later. Bye.